This video was inspired by Foo's article, What Foo's two biggest trading L's taught Foo about winning, and might therefore share some resemblance to it. I decided that this would be a fitting debut for my channel, as it allows me to share some things I feel authorized to talk about, which just happens to be two of the major L's I took, and what I've learned from them. So why am I telling you all of this? First and foremost, I wanted to have some kind of authority to talk about what I'm about to share. Talking about things where I don't know myself what I'm doing doesn't quite feel right. Because of that, selecting some of my dumbest failures to talk about quite literally felt earned. Second, I like to think that this will serve as some kind of basis for my credibility. Not in the way of, hey, look at me, I'm so smart, but quite literally the opposite. I'm still young, and I learn every day, and I want this to show how stupid I am. That way, you don't give me too much credit that I might not deserve, but it also connects us by showing you that I'm also just a human. Third, I also wanted to give you a person to look at and go, damn, that guy's kinda dumb. This allows you to learn from my mistakes without suffering the consequences. Number 1, the sports betting L. My first L took place on October 28th, 2018, around the time I was really into sports betting. At that time, I was deployed into Bitcoin with all the money I managed to scrape together working at McDonald's during high school, which allowed me to accumulate right around 0.1 Bitcoin. At the time, this was worth just about $650, and since volatility was low and I recently learned about trading, I decided to look for other avenues which might allow me to compound my holdings, which landed me at sports betting. I was very naive at the time, leading me down a path of listening to so-called sharps, which are essentially sports betting gurus that give out signals, calls for sports games. I would listen to calls shared by a Discord friend that had access to paid signals from one of those sharps. So quite literally the proverbial paid group signals. It initially worked out, and I thought I learned the basics of risk management, until the fateful day of betting on the Packers vs. Rams game. By blindly listening to someone's calls, I was doing something I didn't fully understand. This led me to bet on the Rams, winning by 7.5 points or more. This is different from betting on a team to win outright, where it allows for a wider variety of outcomes, while also offering higher rewards at times. Or so I thought. The sharp emphasized that even went so far as to share on social media that he had a significant amount bet on the Rams to win by 7.5 points or more. Being as stupid as I was, I decided to full port into that call and bet about 0.06 Bitcoin that the Rams would win by at least 7.5 points. The Rams ended up winning by 2 points. Boom, the majority of my first trading stack gone, which represented a decent chunk of the money I had at the time, evaporated in a single night due to my own stupidity. Keep in mind, I recently graduated from high school at the time, entering college. It didn't hit me right away, but as time passed, I grew increasingly angry at myself for being so stupid. Days went by where I wished I could go back and revert my decision, but that simply wasn't possible. I swore off sports betting that night and proceeded to get a job as a pizza delivery driver to earn back my stack and continue accumulating. Things went very well, and I actually earned back my stack and then some until I was fired from that job due to my own stupidity, but that's a story for another day. This taught me how long it takes to build up a decent stack from the ground up and reconnected me with the value of money. It also taught me to never blindly listen to others, and that a basic understanding of your decisions is a necessity and not an option. While I might have been able to recognize those lessons at the time, it would take me years to truly gain the wisdom of learning them, as seen in the next L. The options trading L. The second major L took place in Q2 to Q3 of 2022, right in the middle of a recent bear market and after the crazy bull market of 2020 to 2021. After building up a decent stack in the prior bull market, and getting out of the markets at the start of 2022. I was looking for other things to do other than trading crypto. Again, by blindly listening to others, I found my way into options trading after being told about it by friends on how easy it was and how people managed to rack up huge sums in recent times. This led me down a path of joining another paid options signal group, which advertised itself as being able to teach people about options trading and how to consistently make money. Yeah, sure. Various calls would be sent throughout the day, making me glued to my computer and phone during market hours and obsessively asking the meme questions of entry, stop loss, take profit, sir, please. However, due to the comfort gained from a recent bull market, I thought it was okay to just deposit 10k and see what will happen. I blindly followed the calls that were shared, and I absolutely sucked at managing those trades, as I didn't understand what I was doing. I repeated the same mistake of betting a larger portion of the trading stack I set aside whenever a signal provider gloated about having significant size in whatever contract they signaled. During the first major drawdown in May, I decided to punish myself by fasting for a week, while I was also completing classes in university. I decided that since I was almost willing to lose some money, I am effectively saying that I don't need it, and that I should take action according to my word. Since money represents a fundamental and global resource to me, and food is a primary need, I reasoned that I should forego food for a week to literally feel the pain of losing money. Doing so has taught me the pleasure and privilege I had enjoyed in things as basic as food. It also taught me that what was really important to me, and that losing money was not a good thing, as it represented much, much more. However, it evidently took months and more losses to properly digest these lessons, as seen in my P&L chart. A couple months later, I noticed that I was closing down on a 50% drawdown of my initial deposit of 10k, where I then decided to swear off of options as pseudo-leverage trading, and also swore off of any paid group signals or anything of that kind. I withdrew the remainder of the money I had left in that account, and decided to think about what I've done for the next couple of weeks. Where am I now? Well, I have learned various lessons over time, and will continue learning lessons as I make mistakes. However, the aforementioned L's have really stuck with me, and I decided to share them as they represent large mistakes that I must learn from in my life. But as mentioned in the concept of anti-fragility in the book Ikigai, one can use mistakes and challenges as ways of improving oneself. I'm comfortably situated in spot crypto, as I've learned over time that that was the one thing I was good at. I'm about to graduate from university with a bachelor's of science in chemistry, and I'm currently working a relatively comfortable day job, which assures that I have some kind of insurance in case things go totally south, and a productive way of spending my time. I'll soon talk more about my background, as well as a response to FemSub Collector's video and his advice for Zoomer. While I agree with his advice to a large extent, I thought it would be interesting to propose a counter-argument from my point of view, being a relatively recent graduate. I have sworn off blindly listening to others, without having my own thesis, as well as leverage or pseudo-leverage, such as options. I may have developed a basic understanding of options through the act of doing, but that does not mean that it was at all worth it. I believe that first-hand experience and the act of doing are the best forms of learning. However, there are far safer means of going about it. Sports betting also represents an area to me where lots of people follow the few with little to no edge present. Funnily enough, sports betting and options trading are currently advertised as easy ways to make money by contemporary TikTok Zoomers. I feel glad that I fell into those traps when I did and came out with relatively small scars, but I have developed enough wisdom to not fall into that shit again. Everyone has the freedom to do as they please, but I ain't doing that again. I'm looking forward to sharing some stories and concepts that I've come across over time, and I thought it would be a good idea for you to know these things about me before hearing more from me. Pain and suffering are terrible things and should be minimized whenever possible. However, as the Friedrich Nietzsche quote goes, I assess the power of a will by how much resistance, pain, and torture it endures and knows how to turn to its advantage. Suffering is bad as it is, but meaningless suffering is far worse. However, we can give it meaning by learning from our mistakes. And to finally leave you with the last quote, the master has failed far more times than the novice has ever tried. Thank you for your time and attention, and I wish you the best. And may our paths soon cross again.